All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our coffee time talk. I am Mrs. Allen, the school counselor here at Shady Hills Elementary.
I'm Miss Scott. I'm the school psychologist at Shady Hills Elementary.
And this is actually our second coffee time talk. We try to connect with parents as much as possible, parents and families on important topics. And this is just a very important one because we all are on the internet. We all have to be online, especially if we're learning from home. So we are going to be discussing today internet safety, and we will start our presentation. I'll share my screen with you. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so as we go through these slides, if you can think of any questions you have, concerns, my email is always on my YouTube channel. If you need to get a hold of me, you can comment. I'll turn the comments on. If you would like to comment, you certainly can. But these topics that we go over, like I said, they're so beneficial, especially this one. It is imperative to keep our kids safe, our families safe when it comes to internet safety, being on the internet. When we give our kids devices, we open them up to a whole world of anything and everything. So let's go through these slides. The first question I guess I have is, when did you get your first cell phone? Miss Scott, what about you? When did you get your first cell phone?
I got my first cell phone when I was 12, and I got it because that was the first year that I was going to be a bus rider going home before either of my parents were home. So they got me a cell phone so that I could text and say, hey, I'm home. But all I could do was like text, call, and play games. Like this was like shortly before the smartphone era, like right before the first smartphone. But I didn't get a smartphone until I was a senior in high school.
Wow. Okay. Yep. And I remember getting mine, and mine certainly wasn't a smartphone. I think I got mine at 17, and it was just a flip, regular, old school. I think that was in 1999, 98, 99. So that was quite a while ago. We've the technology these days, because I used to have a pager. That's how old Miss Allen is. So let's see, families, you can actually ask yourself that question too. When did you get your first cell phone? Do you have a cell phone? Now it's a device. It's not just cell phones anymore, it's devices. When did you give your child their first device? So as we go through this list of this slide, you can ask yourself, which ones of these that we're talking about are your kids using today? Some of them are Snapchat, Whisper, Facebook, YouTube. I know a lot of kids here at Shady Hills spend a lot of their time on YouTube at home. They use apps called WhatsApp, Instagram, Finsta. Instagram is, of course, you guys know what Instagram is, but kids will also set up their own accounts that their parents don't know about, called Finsta, having a Finstagram. TikTok. Yeah. TikTok is a huge one. I know a lot of our students here at Shady Hills, even the younger ones, have TikTok. There's Kick, and yes, I know I have Tinder on there, and that is, kids want to do what adults do, and I know that's a big one as well. I even have some of these. I know I have Snapchat to be able to connect with my own children, but I
have Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram. I broke down and got TikTok. I wasn't going to do it, but I got TikTok. And I remember being younger than 13 and wanting a Facebook, and like I had a MySpace, and MySpace is irrelevant these days, but I had a MySpace, and both my MySpace and my Facebook were social media platforms that I got without parent permission. And I was hiding it. And, my mom just assumed that because I was under the age of 13 that I didn't have it. So for the most part, I stayed pretty safe. I was only adding people that I knew from school. But that was really risky because, if I wasn't a responsible tween, then I could have been adding anyone and just wanting to get more friends or followers. And I think with Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram, even YouTube, with like follow culture or becoming viral, or Insta famous, now kids just want numbers and they just want followers and more like friends, more people to like go on their social media platforms. So they'll add people that they don't know because it'll give them, you know, what they call clout or give them more recognition on social media. So that's a risk that I think is more present than, you know, like in 2008, 2009, when I first got on social media platforms, that they just want more followers and more likes. So they're just taking the risk of adding people that they may not know.
Right. That's unfortunately where our kids are finding their value. Sometimes even adults do it. They find their value in how many likes they get, and they get upset if they don't get 100 likes on something. It's just their whole world seems to be ending. So that's
Mhm.
that's why we're talking about this today is to kind of curb that and know what our kids are doing online and know where their values lie right now. And this isn't to, you know, condemn anyone or judge anyone. This is just information that we want to get out to you, because I know as a parent of a 19 and 21-year-old, I had to raise my kids in a technological world and know what they were doing. And it's really a choice to want to know what they're doing. And really opening those opportunities. So let me ask you this, families, when is the last time you got on your child's cell phone? And again, that's not to judge, that's just to kind of make an awareness of, have I ever been on my kid's phone? Do I have my kid's password? You know, those kind of things to ask yourself. That's a big deal. It really is a big deal. I know I asked third, fourth, and fifth graders here at our own school about some of these questions, and they were very open with me, which was awesome. Mostly because I said, "Don't worry, I'm not going to tell your parents, whatever." But I wanted them to just to get our own grasp on what kids are doing these days, and we'll go over those numbers in just a little bit. So, what is the harm? What's the harm? You know, having your student have a cell phone at any age, whatever they need, whatever they're looking to do. So the top troubles with tech are listed here on the screen. One, location tracking. Location, oh my goodness, there are ways for people to get your child's location. We keep location on our phones. I know my daughter's phones, who are adults themselves and don't even live at home anymore, they still have their location on their phones, but we have to be really careful because people can find out your location.
Yes. When I was in high school, one of my friends was at my house and she was having a dispute with one of her ex-boyfriends, and they were fighting back and forth on Facebook Messenger, and she had her location settings on, and he was able to use that to come to my house to try and like hash the situation out in person. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized that you could even do that. I had no idea. So we all got more careful about when our location settings are on. And now there are app permissions. So when you download an app, and like kids may not know this, so when your kids are downloading new apps, it might be a good idea to sit down with them. Our phones have app permissions now. So does this app have permission to access your contacts, your location settings? Only while you have the app open will it be allowed to access your location settings, versus all the time, no matter where you are, even if the app isn't actively open on your phone. Those are some things to consider as you're downloading apps on your child's phone.
Yes, for sure. And just be aware, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Like if your child is, you're needing to find them somewhere, then to keep that on is good, but then that means other people can find them where they're at. So just be aware of that. Built-in app purchases, number two. I mean, of course, sometimes our kids buy things and we don't even know about it until we see it on our credit card or don't see it on our credit card statement. There are built-in app purchases, especially if you have an Apple ID or have a card set up to that game app, whatever it is. Kids like to click and buy, one click buying, purchasing. So just be aware of that as well. 3 is photo sharing or requesting photos. That is a big one, even at the 3rd grade level. Be aware that is a danger these days. Kids are very open. They are very willing to share pictures of themselves, not realizing that a screenshot is just a click away, and that picture is there forever. I give lessons to second, third, fourth, and fifth graders about internet safety and being a good digital citizen, and how something that you put on the internet or send to somebody is now theirs. It's theirs forever, even if you tried to delete it. So being aware, just really aware of what kids are sharing these days. I know I've had students, this is my 22nd year in education, and I've seen kids share some pretty inappropriate things with each other, and just to be aware of that. So number 4, loss of sleep. I know Miss Scott and I, we get calls for kids that are falling asleep in class all the time. Like teachers can't wake them up because they are exhausted. We will go over things about that later as well, but just loss of sleep, be aware that the kids can become, like it says on 5, addicted to their technology. They get so addicted that they want to play their video game, play the app that they're playing, or just check, like we talked about earlier, how many likes they're getting. They'll wake up in the middle of the night and see how many Instagram likes they got or Facebook likes they got. Not that a lot of kids use that. Snapchat, who's been looking at their Snapchat? All of those things can cause such an addiction to social media. So just be aware of those. So this is a big one. Ways kids hide their apps. Again, with I have adult children, so I don't check. They're in charge of themselves now. But when my students were little, my children were little, this wasn't as big of a thing as it is today. There are many ways students and children hide their apps. There's many ways adults hide their apps, but of course this is just for kids. Many are designed like the clock, like that little clock emoji. That can be a way people hide their apps. It's not an actual clock, like you click on it and that's not a clock. The calculator is a very big one. The calculator, it looks like, oh, this is just my kid's calculator. So you don't think anything of it and you just keep scrolling through what's on your phone. Notepad, reminders, or even the weather app. It can be, you can hide games, hide apps, hide photos, hide conversations inside things that look like they're designed, they're disguised to be, to hide things from other people. On the bottom, it says others that kids use are Vault, Locker, Hide It Pro. Those are more ones adults use, but like I said, kids want to do what adults do, and they talk to their friends about it, and they find ways to hide from like Miss Scott said, my mom didn't know,
Mm-hmm. And I would just, still consider this. If you have a rule in your house that your child is not allowed to have social media at this time, still take the time to maybe scan through their phones, take a look at some of these apps that could be hiding other apps, because it's very easy, unfortunately, for kids to sneak and get social media anyway. We're having a similar issue with my sister-in-law. She's 13. And my in-laws, the rule is that she's not allowed to have social media, but she's managed to get 3 or 4 different Instagram accounts since they keep finding out about it, but she still is able to keep them for a few months without them knowing, because, they're not aware of the different ways that she's been able to hide it until, something comes out about it. So just be aware, even if there is a rule in your house that they're not allowed to have social media, they may still have it. And that might be even the more dangerous approach, because they have zero monitoring if they have it and you don't know.
And that opens up a whole world of stress and anxiety that these kids do not need. We all made it through growing up without that. It's just kids can't get away from it these days, unless adults and families, make those rules and try to keep monitoring. So again, 5 tech tips that are going to be kind of important that we need to go over is doing your homework. And we've talked about it. Do you have the location on their device turned on? Do you have it turned on only when the app is usable, being used, even if it's running in the background? Kids forget. That's why their phones drain so quickly. Like they leave all these apps open and their locations are on at least 1 or 2 of them. So being mindful of that. Number 2, you do make the rules as their family. Yep, they're going to be mad at you. I've suffered through many nights, telling my kids being very mad at me. But really, when you are paying for the phone and making those rules and saving them a lot of heartache, on the bottom of that, it says, where do you allow them to charge their devices? Oh man, my kids put up a fight when I told them their devices are being charged in my bedroom. So save them from waking up overnight and checking on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, just saving them that temptation, I guess, to get up and stay up and lose sleep. And kids are up for hours sometimes. I've had as young as first graders say, hey, Miss Allen, because I asked them, why, honey, why are you sleeping in class? Well, I snuck into my mom and dad's room last night and I got my device. I do that every night. And it's so worrisome because parents don't know they're sleeping. And so even if you're charging their device in your room, they're going to find a way to get it. So
one of our colleagues has a teenage son, and she uses a lockbox for the phone so that he's not able to get into it, even if she is asleep.
Mm-hmm. And are you able to check your child's phone at any time? Do you have that relationship set up that, hey, I'm paying for this, so I'm going to be able to grab your phone anytime and just check it, make sure you're, staying accountable. That's, keeping you accountable and on the up and up. And then do you have a tech policy like Ms. Scott was talking about? Do you have a tech policy of no social media, but do you also have a tech policy of no phones for half an hour before bed, an hour before bed, using that time to connect or read, really just shut your brain off and not be tempted to stay up longer than bedtime. So just some things that we want to stay aware of and make sure that we're doing. I asked some kids about their devices and where they charge them. A lot of them say they charge them in their own rooms, even third graders. So, and that's not a bad thing. Oh, I use it for my alarm. But there's a lot of different options for that. There's still clock alarm radios that you can set. So when I was talking to our third, fourth, and fifth graders here at school, I was telling Miss Scott before we came on today about I surveyed the third graders, 2 third grade classes. We have 3 third grade classes, but one of them was testing at the moment. And I asked them and I said, just show of hands, how many of you have been talked to or connected with somebody trying to connect with you online about and made you feel uncomfortable? 36 hands went up, 36 third graders, and just in our building alone from 2 classes. So that's about 60 kids. That's over half have been made to feel uncomfortable from a stranger online. And that's why when we have this slide up, educate your child, there are people online who will try to do bad things to them, try to get information from them. People aren't always who they say they are. I have a lesson that I do that talks about a kiddo who's thinks he's talking to another 4th grader online, and they talked for weeks, and it turned out to be a 53-year-old guy. Very unsafe. Very unsafe. We know, we as adults understand that, but kids don't always. They want that attention. So just when I talked to the 4th graders, I surveyed 3 4th grade classes. 39 of them said, I've been made to feel uncomfortable online from a stranger. A stranger connected with me first online. When I went to 5th grade, 53 of our 5th graders had felt uncomfortable online from a stranger. They made them to feel uncomfortable, unwanted requests, advances, those things. That's scary. And that is just in our school. That's almost 100, that's over 100 kids in our building alone, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that have made to feel uncomfortable online. And that's from just having access to the World Wide Web. Tricks that they use are listed as well: asking for illicit images, offering to trade images, offering to give them something if they do send a picture or a photo, strangers asking for help or advice. And I just put on there, a safe person will hardly ever ask for this. A stranger doesn't need the advice of a 3rd grader or 4th grader or 5th grader. Strangers giving a compliment or liking their images, and go through their likes. When you are able to get on their phones or whatever they're on, go through what, the comments they're saying, what the people are saying. Do you know those people? There's some interesting characters on there that will try to get them to start a conversation. That's opening the door. So when you know the dangers, you can help your kids before it happens.
And I think also it's important to think about not only do they need to engage in safe practices against people that they don't know, but do they know what their options are if somebody that they do know from school or from an outside organization or something that they're friends with, that maybe even starts to make them feel uncomfortable. I also work at a middle school, and I've had students come into my office and say, so-and-so from my fourth period class has been making me feel uncomfortable on social media. So do they know their options to block, unfriend? Do they know that they should be alerting you as the adult in their life? They are often responsible enough to let us know at school, but they need to also be letting you know so that you all can have a conversation about who they're letting onto their social media. Even if it's people that they know, it may still be people who are not necessarily safe.
Correct. And this, like I said, it's not just strangers. This, like Miss Scott said, it's people they know. This is cyberbullying. It's things that kids will say to each other, whether they know them or not. Some people just go online. Some fifth graders I talked to yesterday, just in conversation, they say, well, we're gaming, Miss Allen, and these people will hop online and we don't even know who they are. And they just start acting like jerks to us. And I know, Miss Scott, you had said something earlier about that.
Yeah. And you know what? Young people call it trolling. Like, people will just hop onto the game and troll them, basically try and interrupt the gaming session, say mean things, try and harass. They have no intentions of actually playing the game. And what I realized, because my husband is a gamer, there aren't filters. So if your kids have games like NBA 2K, Madden, Call of Duty, things that are multiplayer, where they can be playing with anyone, anywhere, through like a headset with a microphone and things like that. Anyone who hops in order to play, once the team has fulfilled its minimum number, then you can just start playing. So he's been playing games, then all of a sudden a bunch of kids pop on and he hops off because he wants to play with adults, and there's no way to put a filter on there so that kids don't get in, or vice versa. Kids can't put a filter so adults don't end up playing with them. So that's another thing to be aware of when your kids are gaming and playing with headphones. What are they hearing, and who's on the other end of that headphone set?
For sure. Because when you only hear one side of the conversation, unplug that for a second and just see what the other people are actually saying and talking to your kids about. So, but above all, this is having conversations. This is just opening up conversations that kids need. They need to be able to talk to somebody. You're having conversations that you can connect with your child about safety, even if they get annoyed, and they will. Just like I think I still get annoyed with my parents every once in a while when they're trying to talk to me about something. But this is a chance to ask them questions, to have them teach you about their apps, so you can maybe jump in and play or connect. I know some parents that have set up their own fake profiles to see what their kids are actually talking about online. Ask them to show you how to play their favorite game. Use their devices as a way to connect with them, instead of putting a wedge between you. This is all of these things we go through are just such an opportunity to connect with your kids and build that foundation of someone they can trust. They can trust you. Of course, they're going to want to listen to their friends more, but when they know you are a safety net for them, that is really big. And number 5 says, don't be fooled. Do not be fooled. Kids are so smart. Most of the kids in this building know more about their phones and technology than I do, for sure. They're more than their teachers do, for sure. They'll be like, they'll just get on and do whatever and like, oh, okay, this is done. It's crazy how smart they are, how quickly. It's like rapid fire, how kids spread information, whether on technology or just by word of mouth. They want to do what their friends are doing because it is so important to them to fit in. But just they're fast at picking up new things online, especially from their friends. Make sure you're aware of apps that do exist to hide their activity. Like we said before, the calendar, the calculator, the weather, the clock app, monitoring them, being on top of that. That is super important. What to watch for if you feel like, oh my gosh, my kid is addicted, or they cannot get off their phones. Unexpected gifts showing up from people you don't know. Red flag. That is huge. If they start getting even Bitcoin, those, here's some things that I'm sending you electronically. Watch for that. Spending more. And I know our kids, that when they get here, the first thing they do is get their computers. They are on their technology 6 hours a day almost. Besides PE, they're on their technology here for almost 6 hours a day. So then when they get home, spending another 3 hours of just, they're just online playing now. They don't have to do schoolwork, but that's 9 hours of being online. Oh,
Yeah.
their eyes need a break. Their brain needs a break. Just to set those boundaries and those rules at home is important. Trying to conceal, when kids start trying to conceal what they're doing, of course they're doing something they don't want you to know they're doing. We've all done it with our parents, our families, trying to conceal that's something to watch for. A sudden change in their appearance or their speech when they're around other kids or adults online, they're going to pick up that speech that you're like, we don't say that, or we don't talk like that, or where did you start, why did you start wearing these kind of out, whatever it is. Watch for those, just so you're aware. A sudden change in behavior, such as onset of depression or anger, that's a big one too. And that goes along with that bottom one of becoming angry when you take their device away for the night. That's a major warning sign that your student, your child might be becoming addicted to their device. Is it always in their hand? Is it always out while you're talking to them? You're trying to have a conversation and they're just like, yep, yep, yep. Just teaching those communication skills is very, very important. So some things that I put on here, just some resources for you. There are trackers. When I asked the kids yesterday, I think only 9 of my 5th graders, of all the kids that have a cell phone, which is all of them these days. Oh my gosh, there was only 9 of them that say their parents track them. 9. And 3 of those kids are like, I took that tracking off because I figured out how to take it off. Wow. Yep. They're outsmarting us, folks. But these links, these apps are things you can use to just monitor. Family Link, Family Time, Fam is Safe. Bark is a big one. I know it's Bark. Like, what's Bark? Google it. Bark is a big one to monitor kids' activity. Custodio, and again, if you have a shared Apple ID, if you're an Apple family, if you share Apple IDs, you know your students or your child's Apple ID, you can get into what they're doing, their purchases, their history, those things like that. These are just options. There are many, many more out there. These are just ones that I found are like the most popular right now, the top 10. So just options for you. Know that they are out there. So what happens if you find something inappropriate or unexpected on your child's phone? It will likely happen. If it hasn't happened yet, yay, but it will likely happen. And we just need to stay calm, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. They're young. They want to explore the world. They're highly unaware of the true dangers in their searches right now, of what they're posting. Again, this is an opportunity for you as a family, as their family, as somebody who loves and cares for them very, very much, to have a conversation, to set those foundations of that you can trust me. Yes, I'm upset with you that you have this on there, but we're going to work through it and we're going to find better ways to get through it, and building that trusting relationship with them.
Yeah. And I would say, probably the first knee-jerk reaction would be to go straight to discipline. And there's probably disciplinary action that is warranted. But discipline without having that conversation about how that content ended up on their phone in the first place will just lead to them it happening again, once the discipline is over and they're able to have access to their phones again, it may come up again. So in order to avoid that happening again, having a conversation about why they have it in the first place, what is unsafe about it, what are the consequences that could incur from having something like that that's inappropriate on their phone, why it's unsafe.
And like I said, this is my 23rd year in education. In the past, I've had students have the most inappropriate things on their phone, and it's other students, and that the police can take your phone. And again, if they have an Apple ID and that's connected to you as a parent or you as their family, that is now connected to you. So that is something to very, very much be aware of. Another I don't want to say incentive to know what your student is doing on their phone, your child. But if their ID is connected to your ID or a phone that you possess in your home, that can be very dangerous. So again, these are this is just information for you to know, information for you to have and use however you'd like. We just really wanted to get this information out there for you. And again, if you have questions or concerns, please reach out to us. We're at Shady Hills Elementary in Florida. We want to just help you and get the information out to you. So if you, again, have any questions, concerns, go ahead and comment. I'll check the comments on the YouTube page. And thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for giving us this time. Anything we can do to help, we will. We'll see you next time.